Hello, it is Kaylin and Riley. He's sleeping in here. And we are back to do some math with what we just learned with similar figures. So we talked about that figure one. So this little heart is called a scale drawing, and it's similar to the actual drawing on my shirt. So they are the same shape, everything's the same except for the size is different. So the scale of the drawing is 1 centimeter to 1.5 inches. So if I measured that image right there, it's going to be 1 centimeter on this side right here. So this length is 1 centimeter. I'm just going to put a 1 right there. And if I match it up to its corresponding side, so that's right here. Let me grab my ruler. I can see that it is 1.5 inches. So I'm going to label that 1.5 inches. So if I also measure this distance right here, and I know that it's 0.5 centimeters, and I want to know what is this distance right here to make sure that they are similar, that they're proportional, then I'm going to set up a proportion. So just like we did in the past, we said a proportion is a ratio equaling another ratio. And when I'm solving something like this, I want to use my words. So the two things I'm comparing are, let's just call it the drawing, and I'm comparing that to the actual, so the actual design on my shirt. So on the drawing, I know that we're going to say this is centimeters and this is inches. I know that 1 centimeter on my drawing is going to match up with, on the actual one, 1.5 inches. And I know that on the drawing, so 0.5, so everything on the top of the ratio is the drawing, that's going to be going to my corresponding length that I'm looking for, so that's going to be x. So on the top, these are corresponding. On the bottom, these are corresponding. So just like we did before when we were solving proportions, we're going to solve them just like a usual equation, and it'll be much easier for us if that x was on the top. Okay, so drawing over actual, that's the same thing as I put everything for actual on the top and drawing on the bottom. So x, I want it by itself. It's dividing by a 0.5, so I'm going to multiply by 0.5 to get rid of it. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So just as a refresher, if I'm multiplying 1.5 times 0.5, that's really the same thing as multiplying 15 times 5, so 25, 5, that's a 7. And then because the decimal place is to the left once here and the left once here, I'm really dividing by 100 total. So I'm going to move the decimal twice to the left. That would be dividing by 100. So x equals 0.75, and make sure that we put inches. Okay, so when you're done after you solve your proportion, make sure that it makes sense. So does it make sense that 1.5 over 1, so I'm using my proportion here, is equal to 0.75 over 0.5. So if these are corresponding sides, 1.5 divided by 2 gives me 0.75, and 1 divided by 2 gives me 0.5. So yeah, that checks out. I'm not saying this is half as big because, again, these are centimeters and these are inches, but it makes sense in terms of my arithmetic, and it also makes sense that if this is 1.5, this should be half of that because this length is half of that.